What did you like most about Sell Yourself Like a CEO?
I think it's the good thing. It's short, but it's getting to the point and it's actionable. I think that's what makes that book really different from any other books, and I've read quite a lot of them. There's a theory behind it, the rules behind it, but then you go into how to apply that on a daily basis. And I think that is being actionable is really important because there is a lot of theory, it's in a lot of views, but at the end of the day, if it's not actionable, it doesn't mean much. And I think that what your book is making a huge difference because it is really actionable.
What are some of the misconceptions people have about selling themselves, and how does this book challenge those misconceptions?
Yeah, I think it is a bit of reversing what people are thinking of selling in general, but selling yourself in particular, in the way that it's not so much about your capacity of being able to give a nice pitch and giving a nice presentation. It's more really, as soon as you can, really getting into the details of what the company on the other side wants to see, what kind of problem they have, and figuring out whether you are the right candidate for that. So that's what I thought was really good in the sense that it's helping to frame the conversation the right way because it is really entering a collaboration and seeing whether this collaboration can work or not, and not just coming and being the best. And I think it's demystify the fact that it's not who is the best, but who is fitting to the problem of the company at a certain point of time, because those problems will change as the company is evolving and will require different talent. And it's all a question of, is it the right chemistry or not? And it's being understanding the other side, being understood, and not just overselling yourself, because I don't think that this is the right way of selling in general, and especially selling yourself.
And of course, you've been a hiring manager in Japan for many, many years. So you've been hiring people who are very technically adept, scientists, regulatory, bioprocessing,
Mhm.
etc. What's one thing that you wish that candidates out there would learn from this book around selling themselves? What's one thing that you wish candidates would do better in interviews in order to appeal themselves?
The wording is probably not right, but it has been used in books. So I think it's not being afraid of being naked, being transparent. So that the challenge I've seen in general, so it's either you have people that talks very well and just try to get their way in just by having a smooth talk, but you don't get the inside really because it's too soft, it's too polished. Or the complete opposite with someone that is a bit shy, doesn't know how to position, doesn't necessarily know what their strengths and their weaknesses are. And it's important to be really as transparent so that I can see inside the person. I can see, I'm not judging whether it's a good person or a bad person. Is it the person I need now for the job that I'm looking for? And I think that this is helping to increase your awareness, your self-awareness, and how to communicate that self-awareness. And that's not something that is easy to do. And as you describe in your book, it's daily maintenance, it's everyday work, it's reflecting about yourself, reflecting about the company, so that the chemistry can happen. I think that this is what, if everybody reads your book, that's the kind of interviewer will be enjoying, to be really going into the details, because it's not who's good, who's bad. It's just, are we the right chemistry?
And as a CEO yourself, or essentially the CEO of a Japan branch of a global organization, what's one thing from this book that you wish you had known earlier in your career?
Exactly what I said here. I think that's what experience tell you. The experience gets you a better understanding of why the book is really important and make a lot of sense. Because when you're young, you don't have the experience to really understand. It's not really selling yourself. It's really seeing whether the chemistry can work. And how can I position myself? What kind of question can I ask to understand whether this is working? And that I definitely didn't get it at the early days because I wanted to sell myself. I wanted to be hired. And I've been lucky to never been hired in the wrong position. But I've seen that with others, and that's not good for both sides. So I've been lucky there, but I think that I would have maybe had different job if I would have known that 20 years ago.
And of course, you're in a transition yourself right now between careers. So, what part of this book spoke the most to you and where you're at right now with your career?
I think that this is the one toward the end about living with purpose and entering with power. I think that sentence was really resonating a lot for me, and the description there, because that's exactly what I've tried to do this time. I'm leaving today. Saitiva, I'm very happy about the company. I'm not running away. It's a great company, a fantastic team. But I made a personal decision. And when I look back at those decisions, I see a lot of what you described in the earlier chapters. But I think that what is really critical is this purpose, because I think this is really an important word for the whole career development and the whole journey that everybody is going through, because living and living with purpose can be seen in two ways: from living the day to day and living the company with purpose. It's, to me, it's about the same thing. It has to be cohesive. And that's what your book is about, is understanding yourself, understanding what you want to do in life. And because of that, you make a decision. And it's either easier for the company that you are leaving to understand why you are leaving. It's not because you're pissed. It's not because you don't like them anymore. It's just because you want to do something, but it's in a certain continuity until now. So you can say that you're leaving because I love what I've did until now, but I want to do something else. I want to go somewhere else. I want to try something else. And being able to be very clear on that purpose is really helpful. But it has to be consistent with everything you said during your tenure in the company. And so I spent the last 2 months speaking about that with the team, but also with customers, with collaborators. And I always receive very positive feedback, because everything I've said until now just is a natural continuity. And I think that thinking about that and being aware of who you are, what you want to do, working toward that purpose, and when it's time to turn or to switch or to modify, then there is a logic to it. And I think that nobody wants to hear, I'm leaving because I will get a better salary. You are leaving because you have a purpose in life, and you want to go further in that, toward that purpose. And I think that is very good. And then when entering the company, it is the same thing. You're entering with a certain purpose. You can say, I'm joining that company because that is what I've done until now, and that's what I want to do now. And combining that story is so powerful. And I think that that sentence, that chapter on the transition, is really to the point from my perspective. And that I have done it kind of in a natural way without thinking of it, but you really have summarized that in a beautiful way. So I loved it a lot.
Thank you. And of course, you've been in Japan for decades. You've been in the healthcare and life sciences industry for decades, and you continue to grow as a leader as well. Are there any other kind of frameworks out there that have inspired you and helped you to look at where you are in your own journey?
Yeah, sure. There's one that actually I discovered quite recently, probably 6, 7 years ago. That is the VSOP model, like the brandy from France. But it's a typical journey along your career that, again, I would have loved that to be taught about it 20, 30 years ago when I started. Roughly saying every decade you change, you evolved how you work. And I found that model really powerful. So it's 4 letters: the V, the S, the O, and the P. The V standing for variety or vitality. So it's when you're in your 20s, you've just graduated, you start to understand what kind of work you really want to do. And you try many things. It's important to try many things, to talk to many people, to discover things. And out of all those encounters and discoveries, you start to really understand where you want to go and where your specialty, that is the second, the S, should be. And then that's where in your 30s, again, it's rough. You start to work on your own specialty. What do you want to be strong at? And once you have seen that and understood and groom yourself, that's where you move to the O, that is originality. It's the place where you start to see problems and you say, wow, there's no solution for that. What can I do based on what I've seen until now to solve that problem that no one has been able to do? Could be go big, it could be small, but that's really where you try to be really creative, because you have all those backgrounds. And that's basically the 40s. And then when you reach the 50s, you have seen that you have created a lot of new models and solved solutions that was difficult to do, and it's time that you want to expand that further. And that's where your personality, who you are, that's really where you become a leader. People start to follow you, really. You start to have followers, and your personality matter than more than anything else. That's the P element. And I've seen myself evolving that way. I would have loved to know it because I may have made better decisions at a certain point of time. And I've talked about it to many people, and I haven't seen people saying no, that's wrong. That's not the path. I think we are all following that one, and maturity and experience get it to the P. I'm still wondering what is the next one. Because now we start to work in our 60s, and what does it mean to work in your 60s, and what is your contribution to society, to a company? I'm trying to figure that out. I'm not there yet. So we'll see it as we go. I found that model really interesting. It's really helping uh, to aim at something that is meaningful and is useful for the future.
And of course, Japan's got an aging population, low birth rate, and we're seeing the talent pool, an already very scarce talent pool, especially in healthcare and life sciences in Japan, shrinking even more. And the younger generation isn't quite as active on social networks like LinkedIn, for example. But there's a lot of talent out there. What would be your message to the next generation of leaders who aspire to be a leader in the industry, perhaps even a GM or CEO? What would be your advice to those perhaps in their V and S phases right now in order to be the best leaders that they can be?
I think it is understanding the core value of what we do in business. I think that these have been over time a bit diluted or transformed, where revenue is everything. To me, this is not really the case. It is critical. This is the air we breathe. This is why we are alive. But this is not the goal. I think that the goal for us in life science and healthcare, it's patients. How do we impact the patient? How do we impact society? So again, coming back to your beginning of the discussion around purpose, I think if your purpose is money, I think it's not enough. And especially younger generation are looking for more meaningful life. They want purpose, so they want to work for company that have a purpose. That's very clear. That understand that the money, the revenue that we generate is helping us to go one step further. They're helping the company to keep investing, innovating, getting medication, testing, whatever is needed to more patients broadly, faster. That's what it's mean, and that is creating more money. And it's a very beneficial circle that is created there. And I think being able to explain that, I think it's really critical, especially for the younger generation who wants to see a purpose in their life because they have options. When you are in the scarcity element of the equation, you have options and you want to pick up option that pays well, but also is fulfilling. I don't believe in happiness at work, but I believe in fulfillment at work.
Yeah.
And I think that this is creating that environment is really critical.
Right. So really being in tune with one's purpose so that money is a byproduct of that, but not the North Star itself. And that's going to make it easier for you to distinguish opportunity A from opportunity B and choose the one that's going to be more fulfilling for you and drive you further.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Stefan?
Yeah, as you and I have been talking for a while, and the problem, as you said, of the talent pool that is limited is a very interesting challenge for Japan. Great talent, but clearly not enough. Great companies, but the future will really reside in solving that problem. So is it AI? Is it robot? Is it immigration? All those elements are going to change the Japanese society and the culture. And I don't have a solution, but it's really interesting to see what is going to happen. And I think that what you do is really an element in solving that problem. I think that being able to, as you describe in your book, to position yourself well so that you can have the maximum impact and be fulfilled is really critical. So really kudos to you, Ryan, for that book. I think it's an instrumental one. It's going to help a lot of people. I think that the Japanese translation is probably the next step for you, I guess.
It's on the roadmap. Great.